Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me.
Hell no.
John Fink.
Are we still live?
Field of 68 till I die.
I'm sorry, not for left out.
Randolph Children.
DJ Khaled, you not a big DJ Khaled guy?
Hands grown up and in.
Goodman needs to be fired all the time.
Josh Pastner. You're going to beat people straight up.
You know the deal.
Drink responsibly tonight. I'll be drinking with you.
Jarrell McNeil.
From the bluest of the blue bloods to the smallest of the mid-majors.
This is Field of 68 after dark.
Welcome to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We have a special show tonight. We are going to be breaking down this UConn-Gonzaga game, one of the three top 10 matchups that we are going to get this weekend. Rob Dauster here. I got Jeff Goodman with me. We're presented by our partners over at BetMGM. UConn currently is up 76-63. There's about 30 seconds left in this game. I'll update the score as soon as it goes final. But it has been a fairly... It's been all right, perfect. 76-63. UConn picks off Gonzaga in the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, which is effectively a road game for UConn, although the crowd did not show out the way that I expected it to show out on a Friday night for Gonzaga in the state of Washington. It was a straightforward performance, I think, Goodman, for UConn here. I mean, look, we talked about it before we pressed record on this. It felt like UConn did not get out of third gear throughout this entire game, and they still found a way to win by 13 points on the other side of the country against a team that is currently sitting in the top 10.
Scary, terrifying if you're watching UConn because, as you said, like they went to Donovan Clingan early, and I was like, man, he might get 40 tonight because he was getting deep post position. They were feeding him the ball. It almost looked like a concerted effort tonight to finally get the big guy the ball because he was healthy or healthier. And then they kind of took control, and then it was Cam Spencer who made some big threes. They went into halftime with a pretty generous lead, and there was never really any game pressure on them the whole game. So they didn't need Tristan Newton to have to do much. They didn't need Stephen Castle to have to do too much. Like, honestly, I think, Rob, this game said way more about Gonzaga than it did about UConn, to be honest. I mean, it says a lot about UConn that they played their C game and they're able to win on the road like they did against a top 20 team. Because I think that's what Gonzaga is at the end of the day, a top 20-ish team. They're not deep. They don't have a star. Their backcourt's okay. Nembhard's good, but Hickman's just okay. Gray-Mike couldn't do anything tonight. This is the most underwhelming Gonzaga team we've seen in a long time. And I think finally the loss of Tommy Lloyd has caught up with Gonzaga a little bit, recruiting-wise, because I don't think they have the talent that they had year after year.
Yeah, and I do think it's fair to mention that they don't have Steel Venters, which more or less takes away any kind of depth that they have on the perimeter. Like the way that it works right now is you have Ryan Nembhard and you have Nolan Hickman, and those two dudes got to play 40 minutes because everybody else on this roster is a front court player. And as soon as somebody on the perimeter,
40 and 39, by the way, just so you know, 40 and 39 minutes.
I mean, they have to play those guys all those minutes. And if you go back and look at what they've done throughout the season, they got to play them those minutes. They don't have any other backcourt players on the roster. And I mean, look, Ryan Nembhard's a good player. He's not someone that you want to necessarily rely on to have to try to get you 20 every night. Like that's not the best way to make him be effective. Gray-Mike is a good player, but he's never going to be effective going up against the likes of a Zach Edey or a Donovan Clingan because he's 6'9" and he scores with his back to the basket. And to me, the biggest thing is just like there's no lineup versatility, right? Their best lineup, the one that has Anton Watson at the 4. The only way they can bring subs in, it's Braden Huff and Ben Gregg off the bench, and both of those dudes are 6'11", right? So you're moving your best player out of his best position, Anton Watson. You move him from the 4 to the 3, and that's a hard way to win basketball games. So I feel like Gonzaga right now is a guard short of what they need to be. Like if they still had Hunter Salas right now, and I'm not saying the Hunter Salas is like necessarily the best player on the planet, but if they had a dude that could get them 15 minutes off the bench that was capable of averaging like 7 or 8 points, I think that changes what this team can be, because Nolan Hickman could play a little bit of point, right? You put those two guys together in the backcourt, and you can get by with 2 to 3 minute stretches 2 to 3 times during a game. So I think they're just
you just don't have a guy, Rob. You just don't have a guy that anybody fears. Like, ultimately, that's what it comes down to, right? You don't have a guy on this team that you're like, holy crap, we got a game plan for him. Ryan Nembhard was a great player at Creighton when he was he had dudes around him. He had a lot around him. There's just not enough around him here, so he's got to do too much, as you said. Now, again, in the WCC this year, listen, they could run away with it. I don't think they will. I actually think I feel better about my Gales, my St. Mary's Gales now after watching Gonzaga tonight, to be honest, because I think they could still get the automatic bid and win the WCC. I think it's that wide open.
Yeah, and Josh Jefferson got it going a little bit for St. Mary's, so I think that he'll be fine there. And you always got to keep an eye on Santa Clara, because Santa Clara just, who's going to be the first round pick that they have come out of nowhere this year. It was Brandon Podzinski last year. It was Jalen Williams the year before that. So there's a lottery pick somewhere in there, Goodman. We just don't know who it is yet. We're going to find someone off that Santa Clara roster that's a lottery pick. I mean, look, do you see this as kind of the start of the end for Gonzaga and Mark Few, to where, like, this is the end of the era of, like, Gonzaga being in the mix for a Final Four every year, for an elite team every year, and going, back to, like, hey, they may be able to catch fire in a year, but they're not going to be there every year now? I don't know if I'm ready to say that at this point. I do think that, and you made this point last year multiple times, right? I think you made it when we were in Las Vegas for the Sweet 16 before UConn played Gonzaga there in the Elite Eight, that there's just not the level of NBA talent that we've seen before. There's no Nigel Williams-Goss, and there's no Brandon Clark, and there's no you don't have that same. You don't have a Jalen Suggs. You don't have a Chet Holmgren. You don't have that same level of dude. And if you go and look at what Arizona has right now, they're getting Caleb Love out of the portal, and that's the guy that Gonzaga used to get, right? They are getting Kylan Boswell to reclassify and enroll there. That's what Gonzaga used to get. They are getting the players. Kashad Johnson is basically Brandon Clark from 2018. Right? Or 2019. What was Brandon? Whatever he was. Whenever Brandon, you guys know who I'm talking about. Whenever Brandon Clark was there, that's basically what Kashad Johnson is. So I'm not ready to say that yet, because Mark Few at the end of the day is a Hall of Famer, right? And he's not there yet, but he should be there. So I'm not ready to say that yet. But
by the way, it's crazy that he's not in the Hall of Fame yet. No,
it is.
Am I wrong?
I mean, no, he should be there, and he's going to get there. That just seems like one of those ones where it's like we're just kind of waiting for the right time. They only want to add 1 year, whatever it is. No, I think you're right. Can we flip this and pivot to UConn here real quick, because I do want to just ask you, like, when they are able to get Klingon going, and he had his best game of the year tonight. He had 21 points, 8 boards, 3 assists, a pair of blocks. He was 8-11 from the floor. Most importantly, he was 5-7 from the free throw line. And he looked, Jeff, like he was finally moving well. To me, that's been what they were missing, was that offensive threat. Yes, getting Steph Castle healthy matters, because you're adding someone that can be an elite defender. You're adding someone that is your best point of attack defensive weapon, and you're adding another guy that can break people down offensively and create something out of isolation, which, I mean, Gonzaga is the third straight power conference opponent that tried to switch everything against UConn and take them out of what they wanted to run. Did not work that well, because they don't have as many good defenders. But to me, it's getting Klingon to the point where he is playing like the All-American we projected him to be.
They just have their pieces fit together. When Hurley and his staff were putting this team together, you can tell it's like, all right, we're not going to duplicate too much, even personality-wise a little bit, right? Like Cam Spencer's kind of that alpha dog that they needed a little bit, because that's not Klingon. Certainly that's not going to be Castle. Caravan's got some of that in him. But I think, again, Cam Spencer just, brought another shooter who can do more than just shoot. He's not one-dimensional like a lot of people thought he was at Rutgers and at Loyola, Maryland. But again, Castle's athletic, big, strong, can guard at a high level, right? Can get to the basket, can get downhill. Solo ball is kind of a, more athletic, but he can really shoot the ball, comes off the bench. Diarra is great because he's got a gear, right? And he guards. He gets after it and really gets up in guys. I like, again, how everybody serves a different purpose on this UConn roster. Everybody.
Yeah,
I love that. I hate teams where they're like duplicating pieces, or I'm going to see one tomorrow a little bit. Indiana, they don't have enough shooting. Obviously, that's the key thing, right? UConn, even though they
not
have
if you ask Mike Woodson, don't you dare bring that up in front of Mike Woodson. If you say anything about shooting to Mike Woodson, he's going to jump you, man. You better be careful. Don't go in that press conference. He's going to be looking for you.
I would ask him, but I'm not going to be here for the post-game press conference because I got to leave right away to get to that Purdue-Arizona game in Indy because the Colts start at 4:15 too. So the traffic in Indy is going to be horrendous.
Yeah. So what I will say is this. On paper, I think that this Gonzaga team is not a great matchup for UConn. And what I mean by that is they have a guy at the 4 spot that can go out and make things happen against Alex Caravan. If there's a weakness with this UConn team, it's guarding 4s. If you look at all the power conference teams that they've played, the 4-man is the one that goes off. They have a point guard that is able to get to the basket, get to the lane, and create. The other issue that this UConn team has is perimeter defense against teams that have guys that can beat you off the dribble, right? And Gonzaga is a top 10 team with 2 guys that star in the position that you can kind of take advantage of this UConn team. And UConn held them to 39% shooting from the floor. UConn forced 11 turnovers. They held them to 2 for 12 shooting from the 3-point line. And they were up by double figures for basically the entire second half. Gonzaga scored the first bucket of the second half to cut an 11-point lead to 9. UConn immediately answered with a basket of their own. Gonzaga never got to single digits after that. Now, some of that is they missed some open looks, but some of that was UConn hit 7 threes in the first half, threw it in cruise control, and there was nothing that Gonzaga can do. You said earlier that UConn played their C game. I'd push back on that a little bit because I think that they were really effective defensively, but
all right, so B- game. I'll give them like a B- game. All I'm saying is it was not.
They never got out of third. No, but you're right that they never got out of second or third gear. Like it just, there was a stretch in the second half where it just felt like UConn was out there because they wanted to be out there, right? They weren't really running their offense well. I think they had like 4 straight turnovers on possessions. They were just kind of throwing things away, and it never felt like UConn threw it. Like they never had that finishing. Well, what was it in? Remember Mortal Kombat? You might be too old for this, Goodman, but in Mortal Kombat, they used to have the thing that would come up that would say like "finish him," and that popped up for UConn, but they were never able to like finish him. They just kind of let Gonzaga sit there, and there was nothing they could do. I made this comparison for Purdue when they were playing against Xavier. It just kind of felt like UConn was the big brother that was holding their arm out like this, trying to play football against their little brother and just not letting him get the ball. That's kind of what it felt like throughout this game. And Gonzaga is a team that has a good point guard, a good 4-man, a Hall of Fame head coach, and was ranked top 10 in the country playing in their state on the other side of the country from where UConn was. Like I try to.
I wonder if there was surprise, Rob. I wonder if UConn was almost surprised how easy this one was. And again, like they play with ferocity. Again, I think they did the right thing, getting Klingon. I would be doing that every game. If he can get deep post position like that, which he should be able to do most nights, go get him the ball early because to me that gets his confidence up, that gets him into the game offensively, and then. Again, everything else is going to come, right? You got to double on him. Good luck to you, because then you're going to get
problem. You're right. The problem they'd had with that up to this point was simply that he just was not right. He was not himself yet, and
couldn't score.
I do think that over the course of like the last 10 days, it's been like a week and a half since Jimmy V, and he looked a little bit better at Jimmy V. I think this foot thing is more or less in the past. I think the toe thing, he's on the the positive side, the right side of it, right? And I think he's starting to get into better shape. I don't know if it was a confidence thing. I don't know if it was he didn't have his legs under him. I don't know if he didn't quite have his wind yet. I don't know if it was something as simple as he couldn't quite like he didn't have the touch on the ball. Like sometimes when that happens, like it feels like you're catching the ball off your palms instead of catching the ball on your fingertips. And I don't know if it was something like that, but he wasn't quite himself, and he looked like himself tonight. Like he was. Yeah, and you know what's funny about this, Goodman? You know what's funny about it? He had the very first touch that he got. He had a turnaround, right? I don't know if you noticed this. The first shot that he got was a turnaround, and he threw it off the side of the fucking backboard. And it came right back to him, and he laid it right back in. And then the next possession down, they gave it right back. I think there was a drive, and they gave it to him, and he got a layup at the rim. And then it was oh, okay, he's going. Then they gave it to him 2 possessions later, and he scored like a little duck in. So I think part of it is he's starting to get healthy, but I think part of it is you're right. They got him going, and he got the confidence, and it was maybe it was more of a maybe
his personality is such that he can float a little bit. He's not going to demand the ball. That's not his personality. Now, eventually, maybe he can be that type of guy, but you've sat with him multiple times. I've sat with him multiple times. He is too nice of a kid. And again, I think they got to do that. And I think Caravan knows it. And I think Tristan Newton knows it. Again, they need him to be great. And tonight,
you know what's funny? Like the one. So I was thinking about this, right? And outside of just like nitpicks about defensive matchups and saying like, I don't know if they have a great defender here and this and that, whatever. I think the one concern that I would have is that their best players aren't wired the way that Andre Jackson was wired, or wired the way that Jordan Hawkins was wired. Cam Spencer is, but like Klingon, not really. Caravan's like a super nice dude.
I disagree with you with Caravan. I disagree with you 1,000% on the court with Caravan. He's a killer on the court. He's tough. He talks.
He's tough, but
he's a leader. Yes.
So what I was going to say is that's exactly what Cam Spencer is. Like, I think that I don't think we can overstate enough how important it was to land Cam Spencer. Not just because he had, 15, 4 boards, 3 steals, 2 assists tonight, but he's nuts, dude. Like he's out of his damn mind.
Just like his brother. They're both fucking nuts, and that's what makes him great. That's why you want them for the fabric, right? Plus, he could play, but he's not a great defender. But he's smart. He plays hard. He's tough. He's diving on the floor. Like, I don't know. Again, listen, when I said earlier this year, and UConn fans still ripped me on it when I walked into the Garden, one UConn fan, Indiana's his talent. First of all, I said it when Castle wasn't playing. All right, I said their talent level in the starting 5. Castle was not out there. It's not like Caravan and Cam Spencer are the most talented dudes ever. You know what they are? They play hard as shit. They're tough. They play smart. They do all the little things, all the intangibles. Where Indiana's guys, they're not like that, but they're more talented. You're telling me
they're more. Here's the way that I would. This is the point that you're trying to make. This is the point that you're trying to make, and that I understand what you're saying, and I don't think that people understand what you're saying. That Indiana team is more physically gifted with guys that have the kind of tools that would make you be appealing to teams picking in the lottery, that also can do things like shoot it, like handle the ball on the perimeter. Khalil Ware is, in an ideal world, a potential lottery pick. Mackenzie Mbako, in an ideal world,
he might be a lottery pick this year. Listen,
and
Khalil
Xavier
Ware
Johnson
might
is a
still
guy.
be a lottery pick.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but when I told you this at the time, the only thing I would push back on pretty significantly is like when it comes to like skills and actual basketball ability, like it doesn't even compare. But when you say talent, I don't think I know you well enough to know what you mean when you say talent, but these other people, like, they don't get the point that you're trying to make. So I understand what you're saying.
Even NBA talent. Even NBA talent is I guess what I'm saying is like Mackenzie. Who are you? you're probably going to draft Mackenzie Mbako over Alex Caravan. You just are right now. Like NBA teams are going to go with upside, and Mackenzie Mbako has higher upside.
I don't.
All right,
Maybe. Look, when they played, I think you had a better argument than right now. We have like 6 more games of a sample size to deal with there. So that's the only pushback I give you. All right, before I don't want to rehash this argument because like we're just going to go down a rabbit hole. But I do want to ask you this question. Okay, I think we both agree that Arizona and Purdue are probably the 2 best teams in America. Do you think that that's fair?
I want to see Arizona again tomorrow. We saw them at Duke, and Duke isn't very good. They beat Michigan State.
My question is how far outside how close is UConn to being the best team in America? Like, are we getting to the point where we have to have that conversation? Is it
sure.
Are they in the same tier? Okay.
Yes, of course they're in the same tier. That must be Kansas at Kansas. Yes, they're in the same tier. They're not far up. And again, they've got a freshman in Castle that we haven't really seen yet, in my opinion. We really haven't seen. Now, again, you can't shoot. But they don't really need him to shoot. I mean,
he airballed an open 3, and then he had another one that got stuck between the rim and the back.
No, he looked like me out there. Yeah. He looked like me out there.
That was not great.
But again, yes, I would say they're in the conversation. UConn is in that conversation. I want to see Arizona tomorrow, and I want to see what they're made of in Indy against a top 5 team. They haven't played a top 5 team yet. They haven't. Duke is not that. Michigan State's not even a tournament team today. Wisconsin's a good team, but they played them at McHale, and I think Wisconsin's a top 20-ish team at the end of the day this year. They've been great over the last few weeks.
They beat the shit out of Wisconsin.
Killed them.
That was
Killed them.
They beat the.
But I want to see what they can do. I want to see what they can do when they step up a weight class.
Yep.
That's all.
No, I agree. I agree. And look, well, we're gonna break down the entire Saturday slate here in a couple of minutes. That I cannot wait. This was the perfect appetizer. UConn-Gonzaga was the perfect appetizer for what is going to be. I think you can make an argument. Maybe the best regular season day that we're going to get the entire season. I don't know if anything can touch it. We got Arizona, Purdue. We got Arizona, Purdue, and Kentucky, North Carolina might be the 2 most entertaining games we get all season long in the regular season. Those are going to be awesome to watch. We're going to get to all that here in a little bit. I just to put a bow on the UConn conversation real quick. I do want to give credit to Dan Hurley for scheduling, and I think Mark Few as well, for scheduling the way that he scheduled, right? You're the reigning national champion. You are a self-proclaimed blue blood, which I believe is a blue blood, right? And you go out and you play at Kansas, you play North Carolina on a neutral, you play effectively a road game at Gonzaga, and you play Indiana on a neutral court in an event where you could have ended up playing Louisville. Now, I know Louisville's not Louisville, but still, that's like 5 of the top 10 programs in the history of college basketball, right? You go out and he wasn't afraid to schedule. And I do think that that is something that is really important in this sport, is to have the coaches at the most recognizable programs to go out and schedule like this. Now, Arizona did it too. Duke did it too.
Yes.
Tom Izzo did it too. There's a lot of coaches that did that, but I think
we
need
to expose. Hey, we need to expose the ones that didn't. I think we need to do that next week. Let's expose. We got the halves, and like you said, Mark Few does it every year, and he kind of has to because they're in the WCC, but he does it. Tommy Lloyd,
he still does it, man. He still does it. Like doing it is what matters. Giving us these games that are great non-conference games that can cut through the noise of football in November and December, that aren't just NTEs and aren't just the Maui Invitational. All that stuff matters. Listen, before we get into the preview of the games, I mentioned Louisville. I do want to ask you about Kenny Payne. You had a report, I believe it was, now it was 2 days ago since it's 12:32 in the AM here, but that basically said
last night. It wasn't last night, was it?
It was Thursday. Night? It was Thursday night. Yeah, it was Thursday night, which is now 2 days ago. I can't keep track of time anymore either. But It basically said that the athletic director at Louisville was talking to players about what the future. Yeah. So just, you know what, so I don't have to reword it. Explain to me what your report was and the status of Kenny Payne right now.
Yeah, I mean, he met with players yesterday, multiple players. Josh Hurd did, the AD at Louisville, and it's trending in the direction that Kenny Payne is not going to be there for the, at some point. My source said, sometime soon, fairly soon, a move will be made on Kenny Payne. And, I don't know if it's going to be next week during break. I don't know if he's going to coach the Kentucky game and let him get kind of through the new year and then make a move. I had a source tell me that it may be the holdup may be figuring out the interim, what they're going to do. Because, again, a lot of people think Danny Manning's going to take over. I've been told Danny Manning has no desire to do this again. He did it at Maryland 2 years ago. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. And he doesn't want to do it again. So I think they're trying to figure that part out too. And again, you're dealing with one of your own, right? You're dealing with one of your own here. As much as, again, Kenny Payne has done a abysmal job, and there's no other way to say it. I'm not going to go all Fanta here and go crazy and rant and rave for 30 seconds. But what I am going to do
you could never go full Fanta Goodman. You could never pull it off.
I could not pull it off. There's no way in hell. But again, what I'll say is that you still have to treat him with the respect because he was a player in the program and he is as class a guy as it gets. Like Kenny Payne is a really, really good human being. So again, you're going to try to do things the right way. You got to talk to players in the program, get the pulse from them. Make sure you're doing your due diligence before you make any sort of move here. And I think that's ultimately what Josh Hurd, who's a young AD still. He's only been at the job for a couple of years. And remember, he was pressured into hiring Kenny Payne in the first place. That's what people don't understand, is that was the time, honestly, when you had a lot of former players getting the jobs. They were fairly successful at that point. Juwan Howard was killing it at that point, right? I mean, he was coming off like an Elite Eight appearance the year before. Woodson got hired. Ewing hadn't sucked quite as bad at that point. So I think it was a little bit different than it is today. Now that Juwan Howard is struggling, Ewing was a train wreck. Chris Mullen was a train wreck. So many of them. Penny's doing a little bit better right now, but most of those former NBA, players, Mike Woodson, he's fine. He's fine.
All right, so here's what I want to do for this game. Let's put the assumption out there.
We got to talk to Juwan Howard. We got to talk to
Juwan
Howard.
We will in a second. We will in a second. But I do want to just put the assumption out there that the decision has been made and Kenny Payne is no longer the head coach at Louisville, right? This is the assumption we're working in. Yeah. I'm going to give you names. All right. I'm going to give you names and I want you to react to the names that I give you. Okay. The first thing I'm going to tell you is I don't want to play you got to give a call to Jay Wright. You got to call Billy Donovan. You got to call Scott Drew. You got to call Bill Self. We're not playing that game. We're not playing that game. Okay. So the two that I don't know if you would be able to hire, the first one is Chris Beard. I don't know if you'd be able to get him. And two, I told you this last year when before Kenny Payne was hired. I think Bruce Pearl would turn Louisville into a top 5 program every single year with the fan base and what he can do. I don't know if you could hire him. I don't know if he would take the job. I think that he's set up pretty well in Auburn. So be quick on these. Bruce Pearl and Chris Beard. How do you feel about those two?
Well, I don't think. First of all, if I'm Chris Beard, and I would tell him this, you can't leave Keith Carter after he gave you this lifeline. Like, you can't leave him after 1 year. You can't go. No. I don't know if they would go after him. And he fits Ole Miss. Like, it's a perfect spot for him. So I would take that off the table, number one.
Yep.
Bruce Pearl, I mean, intriguing. That's a name that I don't know if he'd go either because he's got it set up in the SEC and, he's got NIL. Remember, like, Louisville doesn't have great NIL right now. It's a major rebuild. Now you can rebuild quicker in the portal than you ever could. Those are two interesting names. You want to keep throwing them at me, or
yeah, I'm going to keep throwing them at you.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next two are, I think, the two best names that you can get, and the two ones that I think are going to be the most likely ones to get thrown out there. Right, that is Jerome Tang, Kansas State, and Dusty May at FAU. How do you feel about those two?
They're both behind the guy that I have. Like, I have one that I think is like a slam dunk if you take it. So I like them both, but they would be down my list. Again, Tang's done it for a year and change right now. Dusty May's done it really for a year and change. Now, again, Dusty May's gone to a Final Four. And he's done it at a brutally difficult job. I would be concerned that if I hired him, Josh Hurd and I hired Dusty May, that the moment Mike Woodson decides to either retire or is pushed out at Indiana, you're going to lose him. You're not getting a lifetime coach with Dusty May, at Louisville. So I don't know if I'd go that route just because of that, to be honest. Mike Woodson's not young. He's not going to be around for much longer. I think you're probably talking, anywhere from like 2 to 5 years. You want to hire somebody at Louisville that you hope is going to be there for 10 years. I don't see that with Dusty May.
Yeah, that's exactly my concern with Dusty May. I have less concern with Jerome Tang, I think, than other people do, but that's just because I just think that the aura and the level of positivity that he has about just life in general, like Scott Drew, like assistants just end up working out. All right, so I have two more names written down. One of them is the guy that I think would be your home run and the first guy on your list. So I'm going to save that for the end. I have an outside the box hire that I think would absolutely crush it. And I think that you're going to look at me and be like, I don't know. And that is Nico Medved from Colorado State.
I don't know. Yeah, that's what I would say. I'm not there with Nico for Louisville. I'm just not there. As much as I think Nico's a terrific coach, I'm just not sold that he would fit Louisville perfectly. I don't know. To me, I'd have to think of the next real good spot for Nico. I think a lot of people think it's going to be Minnesota. Obviously, Louisville's a much better job than Minnesota. So I would say Nico would be down my list, below Tang, below Dusty May.
Yeah. All right. So this is the guy that I am guessing is going to be number one on your list. You and I have not talked about this, correct?
Nope. We have not
had this conversation.
No. Nope.
So I think that the guy, I think he would probably be the first call that I would make. And I don't know if you can make this hire because the last time you went to the school it did not work out too well. But Sean Miller, I think that he would.
Not my guy. That's not my guy.
Is it? Okay, it's not your guy. Is it Mick Cronin?
No. Mick's got a buyout. Mick's got a huge buyout that supposedly people are saying he might be able to get out of. I just don't see him being able to get out of it. So I don't think you can bring Mick back to Louisville where he was assistant coach. You're missing an easy one.
Are you bringing Rick Pitino back?
No, it's not Rick. Richard. It's not Rick or Richard. So it is ready. This is easy. This is an easy one. Now, I don't know if he'd take it, but this is a very easy one. Yeah, I mean, Scott Drew. How do you not go after Scott Drew and give him a contract of $9 million a year for 6 years?
Okay.
And yes, he's opening a new building in Waco.
What I said at the very open, I don't know if you heard this. What I said at the open was I'm not including Scott. That he was one of the guys I wasn't going to include in this conversation just because I don't think he would actually take it.
I think he might.
You think he would?
I think he's one that would listen. Because he's done as much as he can do at Baylor. And I know everybody's going to tell, well, they won a national title. They're in the top 10 every year now. I just don't know if you can sustain it. And you don't have NIL there. You don't have big-time NIL. I just think it's hard. He's done such a remarkable job. And what if he could somehow rebuild Louisville? He rebuilt the most difficult rebuild in college basketball history, maybe. And if he could
Baylor was not a rebuild. Baylor was not a rebuild. He built Baylor. He built
whatever.
He built it.
He built it. He should have a statue in Waco when he leaves. And again, to me, nobody's going to fault him if you go to a different league. Nobody's going to fault him for leaving for Louisville. I mean, Baylor fans won't be happy, but he gave him how many years? You know, it'd probably be up to his kids. You know, my take would be for Scott Drew, could he do it with his kids? You know, he's got one daughter in college, but I think it'd be hard. I'm not saying he'd do it. I'm just saying that's the first call I would make, and I would make him an offer that would be very, very, very difficult for him to refuse. Tell me he's not the perfect guy, though. Like, he's the perfect guy for it. He can coach. He can recruit. He knows the Midwest. He can recruit anywhere. He can recruit highly coveted guys. He can go to the transfer portal.
The only thing I would say, and I love, if you listen to the show, you know how I feel about Scott Drew. I love Scott Drew. There's two things I would say. One is I think that when you are coaching at Louisville, it's a little bit more of a fishbowl than what he's experienced in 21 years at Baylor, which is why
he loves talking to people. He loves kissing babies. Come on.
Yeah, but there's more pressure that comes with being in the like you could have if he has a year at Baylor like they did last year where they get bounced early in the tournament and they're not that great and they just kind of, you know, they're a top 20-ish kind of a team, like, okay, yeah, whatever, that's fine. You do that at a school like Louisville, it becomes a little bit more of a pressure thing. There's a little bit more attention that comes with it, which is why the guy that I like, the first one that I mentioned was Bruce Pearl, because I think that I don't think Bruce Pearl can operate when he's not in the fishbowl. Like, can he live if he doesn't have all the attention focused on him?
No,
I don't know if he could. And like invigorating a fan base. But I mean, Scott would be awesome. The big thing is good. The number 2 on my list, why I don't know if he would take it, the bass fishing in Louisville is just going to be nothing close to what it is down there in Texas. So I don't know.
I don't know.
You're going to have to make sure that you got to make sure that Scott would have a stocked pond. Listen, what's Louisville's AD?
We'll get him a couple goldfish. He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
I don't think it's going to do it. All right. What do you know about Juwan Howard coming back? What do we? You mentioned we have to talk about it.
I mean, we just know that they did the investigation like I reported. Listen, like I reported, there were no punches thrown. They literally stood toe to toe, chest to chest, verbally. They were yelling at each other. They had to be separated. It was something that escalated because of a situation involving his son. Jace said to the trainer, thus the strength coach got pissed off, hearing the disrespect. He said something that in turn then Juwan got upset about. And you know, again, it got kind of tense. It got heavy, and they looked into it. They talked to the players. They talked to other people that were there. And ultimately, they decided that it was time to for Juwan to be able to continue and now become the head coach again, which it's been baffling for the last couple of weeks because he's been on the bench. It's been one of the more, confusing situations I've seen. Martelli's still the head coach, but you've got the head coach who's sitting there, and he's well enough to be able to sit there and get kicked out of a game, but he's not well enough to coach. I don't understand that. I don't quite understand how that's okay for the heart, right?
He got ejected, but he's not healthy enough to come back. I don't mean to laugh at this situation. Like I'm glad.
No, but it is right. Of course,
come on, man. Like that shit is funny. Right. That shit is funny, right?
But like seriously, like when your doctor say, "Hey, listen, you know what? After you got tossed, okay, you know what? We're not letting you sit in the sideline."
Look, you're off the bench now, man. You can't control it. You got to go at least
stand
4 rows up.
Right. Right. You can sit with your family, with your wife in the stands or something, but you can't sit in the bench anymore. So he's back. They play Eastern Michigan tomorrow. And, again, I just think he's
better not lose that.
Well, listen, they're what, 5-5? I think regardless of him being back,
they're 5-5, and they still might be the second best team of the Big Ten. Goodman, that's how bad.
They're not the second best team. Well, enough.
You don't know that. We haven't seen him with Juwan Howard. You can't say that definitively. We haven't seen him with Juwan Howard.
I'll see the second best team.
He just got in a fight with a strength coach. He might be reinvigorated here. You can't say that definitively.
Sunday, I'm seeing the second best team in the Big Ten, and they reside in Champaign, Illinois.
Are you gonna go get dinner at Trevor Valise's house?
I
Did he
told him,
invite
I
you
said,
over yet?
listen, I said, you pick the spot. I said, pick the place. And Trevor looked at me like, really? I said, yeah, you're not going to be able to price me out in Champaign, Illinois.
What did he say? Trevor said, "All right, Denny's, baby, let's go. We got Waffle House for dinner." Culver's, whatever it is. Listen, we have a fun game coming up here in just a couple of minutes. We are going to go through the 8 biggest games of the day, and Jeff and I are going to sit here and argue our case. Dagan's going to pick whoever makes the most compelling case, and we're going to put together an 18 parlay on BetMGM, and we are going to absolutely bankrupt them. Let's go. As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today. Welcome back to the Friday evening edition of the Field of 68 After Dark. We're presented by our partners over at BetMGM. My name is Rob Dauster. I got Jeff Goodman here with me. Make sure you use that code FIELD1500 if you are going to place any wagers tomorrow on the best, well, actually, it's technically today right now if you're living on the East Coast, but on the best day of college basketball where you're going to get in the calendar year of 2023. All right, the game that we are playing here is both of us are going to argue a side here. Whether it's Kansas or Indiana, whether it's the over, whether it's the under, both of us are going to argue a bet that should be made in the 8 biggest games of the day. And our producer, Dagan Hughes, is going to decide what bet we make. We're going to put it all together. We're going to make an 8-leg parlay, and we're going to get rich, Goodman, because Dagan doesn't miss.
I wish I could say I don't miss, but sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's start. Dagan, let's start with Kansas and Indiana. It is a 12:30 tip on CBS. Goodman will be there, by the way. He's doing the doubleheader in the state of Indiana. He's got Kansas at Indiana, and then he has Purdue against Arizona in Indianapolis. So Kansas is a 7.5 point favorite. The total there is I thought Dagan was going to bring up a graphic so I could be able to read this. The total there is 146.5. Goodman, what is the best bet that you have on the Kansas Indiana game?
Is there a bet for over under on how many threes are made in this game? Because I want the under. Whatever it is, I'll take the under on threes made in this game, and maybe threes attempted by Indiana. No, I'll probably take. I would take Kansas laying the 7.5. You said it's now 7.5.
Yep.
I think I still will because Xavier Johnson is not going to play in this one. And I just feel like Gabe Cupps and Trey Galloway against Kansas's perimeter defensively, they're going to have a tough time. They're going to have a tough time scoring and getting the ball into those bigs. And again, the spacing is going to be awful. So I would say, to me, I'd probably go Kansas, and I would take the Indiana team under, whatever that number is. I haven't looked at it.
You only one bet. You only get one bet. You only get one bet.
I want
'cause you
two.
just took,
I want two here.
no, you.
All right, I'll
you
take
took
the
both of them.
Indiana
You only
team
get one
under.
bet.
All right, I'll go
You
Indiana
take- all right,
team
look.
under. What is it? What is it?
69.5.
Yeah. I'll ride that all day.
Yeah, Indiana team under 69.5. Yeah. So those are the two bets. I literally had two written down in this game to be able to pick here. So I think Kansas wins this game by 15 points. And I think that laying at 7.5 makes a lot of sense. It opened at 6.5, so that and it's probably going to end up moving up. But I don't see a way that that Indiana is going to be able to run offense here. Kansas has three dudes on their perimeter, absolute killers defensively, and Khalil Ware is going to get eaten. Like, he's not going to be able to function against Hunter Dickinson. So Dagan, you have Indiana team total under 69.5 or Kansas laying 7.5. What is your pick?
Technically, we're all going to be in agreement here because Jeff also said Kansas minus 7.5. So we're just going to take Kansas 7.5 minus 7.5. We're going to roll. I'm with you guys. Kansas is just better. So let's just do it.
All right, Kansas laying 7.5 is the first bet in our parlay. All right, game number 2, Michigan State taking on Baylor. That game is being played in Detroit. Baylor is a 3.5-point favorite. The total there is 144.5. Goodman, what do you like?
Boy, do you have player props in front of you?
No. The player props have not been uploaded into BetMGM yet. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think so. All right. So I will. Man, I'm torn on this one. I got to tell you, I feel like obviously you like Baylor giving 3.5 there, but the line's already come down. And, man, betting against Izzo right now scares the living shit out of me. But I'm going to go Baylor. I'm going to go Baylor giving 3.5, but I don't love it. I got to tell you.
All right. So I think that the obvious play here is Baylor laying 3.5. I think that this is such an obvious play that doesn't make sense to me that the line is what it is. Michigan State has not been good this season. Baylor has looked like one of the best teams in college basketball. They are undefeated for a reason. I think that the perimeter weapons that Michigan State has are going to be overwhelmed by the perimeter weapons that Baylor has. And I think that this is a game where Baylor is a 10 to 15 point they're 10 to 15 points better than Michigan State. It's one of those ones where you look at it and you say, I don't understand why this – hold on. I don't understand why this line is what it is, which is why I am going to dodge this trap. This is what BetMGM is trying to do. They're trying to lay that trap for you. They're trying to say, oh, Baylor's only laying 3.5. Oh, Michigan State, they've been so bad this season. Oh, this is the best bet. This is the easiest bet I've ever seen in my life. No. I am not falling for it. Dagan, do not let Jeff Goodman trick us here. We are not only taking Michigan State plus 3.5.
What's the over?
We're taking the Michigan State money line plus 140. That is what I'm saying is the best bet in this game. That is what I'm going to be on. Dagan, what do you think?
Yeah, you guys are making this one hard because I also hate the Baylor minus 3.5. I hate a trap. This feels like a trap. I hate all of it, but I also really don't want to pick Michigan State plus 3.5 or the money line. So
what's the over under? What's the over under?
144.5.
It's kind of high.
Yeah.
That's where
Goodman, you're
that's
so
where
bad at these games.
That's where I was going to go. But again, I don't like a trap. You know, we all know Vegas is always right. So I'm going to roll with the trap or against the trap. We're going to go with Michigan State. Rob, congratulations. You won that one. We're going to roll Michigan State.
The money line or plus 3.5? You're taking the money line?
I mean, actually, you know what? Let's do money line. No, let's do money line. Why not?
Take the
money
points.
I'm in.
Let's do money line.
No, take the points.
We're going
Dagan is the one that makes the pick. Goodman, you don't get a say in this. You don't get a say in this conversation. All right. Game number 3. We have Texas A&M taking on Houston. The line there is Houston minus 7.5. The total there is 130.5. Goodman, this is how the game is played. You pick one bet that you like out of the spread, out of the total, out of the money line, and you argue it for 30 seconds, and then you let me argue my bet, and then we let Dagan pick the out of those two bets. Okay, are you good?
Yeah,
are you good with this? We've gone through two of the games.
Yeah, the first couple were tough. This one's a little bit easier for me right now. The line started at 10. believe it or not. The line started at 10. It's all the way down, you said, to 7.5 now. I still like A&M in this one. I think they've got Henry Coleman back. They're healthier now. I like Buzz Williams to keep it close. I don't think they're going to win. I wouldn't take the money line, but I'll take the 7.5.
All right. So my take here is that the total is what it is right now because Texas A&M's metrics defensively are not great. I think that Buzz Williams has a team that is tough, that is physical, that like you just mentioned, they got Henry Coleman back, that wants to play a defensive brand of basketball. Neither Texas A&M or Houston want to get up and down the floor, and neither of them are what you would call elite offensively, right? So I think that this is going to be a game that gets played in the high 50s. I think that the under is the bet that you want to be on here. I think the under is the side that you want to be on here. And honestly, like, whenever there is a big underdog in a game where I'm betting the under, I would tend to lean towards the underdog. So I don't even hate the Texas A&M side on this one either. So I don't think that we can go wrong here with either bet that Dagan picks.
Yeah, Jeff, you need to start fighting back. Rob's kicking your ass right now. I'm going with the under. I like the under in this one. I mean, but like you said, Rob, both teams are solid defensively. I'm on the under with you with him. So Jeff, you need to pick it up over here.
Yeah, right. Jeff is taking some L's here. All right, Clemson. Memphis, I believe this game is going to be in Memphis, if I am not mistaken. So this will be a road game for the Clemson Tigers. Memphis is laying 2.5. The total here is 150.5, and the money line, which you would see if Dagan would bring the graphic up, is plus 120 for Clemson. Goodman, where are you?
Yeah, I go Memphis with this one. I mean, David Jones has been unbelievable. And they got Quinterly. They're old, too. We talk about Clemson being old, and they're undefeated. But when you go to Memphis now, I think the FedEx Forum is going to be rocking for this one. You know, Memphis is ready. They've won a couple close games. They bring in Naquan Tomlin, who's not going to play in this game, but he just got there yesterday. I like Memphis in this one a lot. I just think, again, you watch P.J. Hall with me, and I love the kid. But he looked a little cocky there, calling out Zach Edey for not being undefeated. I think they're going down in this one.
I tend to agree. I like the Memphis side of this, but I'm going to be on the under here, and that is because I think that the reason why the number is where it is at over 150 is because Memphis wants to get up and down the floor and play fast. And I think that Clemson, this is a hard thing to say, Clemson, like that Memphis, Clemson, this is a difficult one for me to say. But I do think that Clemson is going to control the tempo of this game. And I don't think that we're going to be seeing a game that is played in the high 70s or the 80s. So give me the under 150.5 in this one, Dagan.
All right.
Take Clemson.
Goodman.
Take Clemson.
You won one, Goodman. I like Memphis here. In this one, there's a little trend that Trevor and I have noticed. With people that have come on our show and what has happened after they've been on our show. I'm just saying, I'm rolling with Memphis on this one.
Don't say it out loud, Dagan. We're never going to get another guess.
But we're rolling with Memphis. They don't know. They didn't say anything. We're rolling with Memphis.
Dagan. That's part of the reason. Who was our guest last night? That's part of the reason why I'm on Michigan State. Yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm on Michigan State in that game. All right. Florida Atlantic taking on St. Bonaventure. That game is at the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. Beautiful Springfield, Massachusetts. How do you not love Springfield, Massachusetts? FAU is laying 9.5. The total there is 148.5, and St. Bonaventure is plus 375 on the money line. Goodman, what do you like?
I'll take the points in the Bonnies, man. Mark Schmidt can coach his ass off. We know that. Anytime you give a Mark Schmidt team that many points, and listen, FAU is not playing great basketball right now. They're not. I think they win this, but I don't think they cover this one at all. Nick Boyd's still probably not back for this one. I don't know. I feel like the Bonnies will find a way to keep it tight, and it's close to home for them.
Yeah, I like FAU here. And the reason why I like FAU is that I don't think that there is the length and athleticism on St. Bonaventure's wings that will be able to bother or take advantage of the fact that John L. Davis and Elijah Martin are 6'2" and 6'3", respectively. I don't think that they have a big guy inside. All due respect to Chad Venning, I don't think they have the big guy inside to be able to get Vlad Golden into foul trouble. And I do think that this is kind of I don't want to say like a revenge spot, but it's something where I feel like FAU is going to be kind of pissed about the fact that they gave up 98 points to an Illinois team on national television at the Jimmy V. So this is another chance on national TV. This is another chance to be able to show people what they can do. And if there's one thing we know about St. Bonaventure, it's that they are not a great defensive team this year. So give me Florida Atlantic, lay the 9.5. It's not an actual home game. Springfield is like 6 hours from only in New York. I don't even know if Woj is going to make the drive up from Bristol for this one, Goodman. So give me FAU.
But he'll pay a lot of people. He'll probably pay for the bus, though.
All right, fellas. Again, another tough one for me here, but I think I'm going to go back with Rob on this one. I like Florida Atlantic. Obviously, we saw them down there, see them in person. Like Rob said, another chance to make a statement. I'm rolling with the Owls on this one.
All right. So now we get into the single biggest game of the day, maybe the biggest game of the college basketball season. We have the AP Polls #1 team, Arizona, against the AP Polls #3 team, Purdue. We have KenPom #2 against KenPom #3. We have Field of 68 #1 against Field of 68 #2. And we have Goodman's, I don't even know what you rank these teams because your rankings make no sense. I think you have Arizona 6th and Purdue 27th in your most recent poll.
Arizona 1, Purdue 3.
That's the savviest thing you've ever said in your entire life. All right, Jeff. Arizona's laying 1.5 in Indianapolis. The total here is 159.5. It actually came down because it opened at 160.5. How do you feel about this matchup on Peacock? Is Hummel calling this game?
He is. Yeah. I had to buy Peacock for him. I had to buy it. Try to make it so. He's upset about his contract with Field of 68, so I told him I'd subscribe to Peacock.
He's just upset that he's got to deal with you every single fucking week. That's his problem with the Field of 68 contract. All right, break down this matchup for me. I officially give you more than 30 seconds for a game as big as Arizona against Purdue.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I look at it and I say to myself, like, Arizona's got the advantage in a lot of these matchups. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're more athletic, but they don't have Zach Edey, and they don't have the home court advantage. And I just think, as much as I love Boswell, and I do, like Braden Smith has been playing so well lately, so well. And what do you do if you're Arizona? Are you gonna play him straight up with Ballo? Like, I don't know if you can, because, again, we've seen what he does to guys when you try to play him straight up. And then if you double him or you help, like, to me, you're going to leave those guys open. And right now they got confidence. Braden Smith is playing with the utmost confidence. And what I think here's what I think is going to be huge for Purdue. I think Lance Jones comes in. This is like the Lance Jones game. And I don't mean he's going to go for like 15, 18 points necessarily, but he fits what they need in this game, right? He's perfect for being able to guard, whether it is rotate on Boswell or certainly Caleb Love, those big, strong, thick, athletic guards. That's where Lance Jones comes in handy. And I think Purdue wins this game. And again, like I said before, I love Arizona, but just look at who they've beaten so far. It's not like, Duke and Michigan State have lit the world on fire so far.
Yeah, so I actually have Purdue winning this game as well, and it's plus 105 to win it. And this is actually where we got to talk about Vaulted. Vaulted is an app that allows you to participate in daily cash prize pools without an entry fee. It is a place you can store your own predictions forever, and by using the Vaulted Challenge feature, you can prove you're smarter than your friends. So go download the Vaulted app as VLTED to store your predictions, challenge your friends, and join daily cash prize pools. Goodman, I actually sent you the challenge. I said that Purdue was going to end up winning. So I guess that you were not going to accept that challenge because we're on the same page there. But I will say that I do like the under in this spot. And the reason I say that is because I think that it is easier to slow a game down than it is to speed it up. I think that Purdue is going to be able to control the tempo of this matchup. I think that that both of these teams are good enough on the defensive glass that we're not going to see the kind of, Zach Edey go out there and get 17 offensive rebounds and score 15 second chance points. I don't think we're going to see that from Arizona either. And I do think that Purdue's guards are going to have trouble dealing with the Arizona ball pressure. But to me, I am more confident in saying that will manifest itself as a game that ends up being like 72-70 than it will manifest as a game where Arizona wins by like 3 to 5 points, if that makes sense. So I'm on the same page with you in terms of how the game ends up getting played out. I would lean towards the under. I think that is a better bet than the Purdue side, but these two teams are equal to me. Purdue, it's played in Purdue's home state, and Purdue is getting 1.5, and the money line is plus 105. So, Dagan, whatever you say here, I'm in on. So pick something for me.
Yeah, you took the points, yes, Goodman with Purdue, or did you take money line?
Yeah, we took the money line.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Okay, well, we're gonna go money line because probably gonna have
That's
a little better value. But Purdue money line under scares me a little bit. You never really know what the foul shots and how people are refereed, so you got to be careful with that.
Yep. Some players are unfairly refereed. Goodman, I don't know if you were aware of that. All right, the game that might be the most entertaining game of the day, which actually overlaps with the end of the Arizona-Purdue game. I hope you got two screens available. North Carolina taking on Kentucky. That game will be played in Atlanta in the CBS Sports Classic. North Carolina is laying 1.5, and the total there, Jeff, is 164.5. What do you like here?
I like the veteran team, and that is the North Carolina Tar Heels. They're old. Armando Bacot's like 32 years old. Hopefully Mondo's asleep, so he didn't hear me say that. RJ Davis has been playing terrific. Cormac Ryan comes in. He's older. Harrison Ingram's got some experience with him, and he's been playing great. Again, Kentucky's got a couple older dudes, right? But is Trey Mitchell going to keep playing that much, Rob? Like, what would you do if you're Cal? Like, who would be phased out? Because I would play Aaron Bradshaw more and more and more.
Goodman,
and to me, Trey
Mitchell. What would I do if I was Cal, and what is Cal actually going to do are two entirely different questions.
Hey, he'll probably play Trey Mitchell and Bradshaw together 40 minutes. That's what he'll do. That's what he'll do against Carolina.
I said last night, they said that Ugonna and Yeso might be available for this. So my guess is that he's going to play the 5. Bradshaw's going to play the 4. Trey Mitchell's going to play the 3. And Reed Shepherd's done, man. He's getting 2 minutes a night with the rest of the timeout so they can play 3 bigs. He's got to even out the numbers at this point, man. That's all it is. He's got to figure out a way to be able to make sure that he can say, yeah, we played 2 bigs for 35 minutes.
No. He's just going to try to keep Reed Shepherd for another year. That's all he's going to try to do. I like Carolina. I like Carolina here. Give him 1. I just think they're the older team. But, however, I'll say this, and again, I'm not going to try to convince Dagan not to go with me, but you never know what you're going to get with this Kentucky team. You never know.
All right, so I don't want to be on a side in this game because I feel like both of these teams are a little
unpredictable.
A little bit unpredictable. The one thing I do know about both of these teams is that they both want to run, and neither of them want to play any defense. So give me the over. Give me all of the over. Give me the over as high as it could possibly go. Give me an alt line over. I don't care what it is. There is not a number that is big enough for me to be able to take an under here. Goodman, life is too short to bet the under. The total right now is 164.5. I am taking the over. These two teams played in a similar situation in 2017 when Kentucky had Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox, and they were getting up and down the floor. And North Carolina had Justin Jackson and Theo Pinson and all those guys. It was the year they won the national title, and they were getting up and down the floor. The game was played in Vegas. Malik Monk had 47 points. Justin Jackson had 34 points. The final score of that game was 103-100. It's going to be a remake of that. We're going to get to triple digits. We might
better hope
200.
So.
Give me the over. I want all. Give me all of the over. I will take all of your overstock and bet it. I don't care what Dagan says right here. I'm putting the over down on the parlay.
Well, lucky for you, Rob. I'm going with you. I like the over in this one. Jeff, your last statement there when you said both teams are unpredictable kind of threw me off a little bit. I don't really know how I feel. You never know who's going to show up, but one thing's for sure, they're going to shoot a lot of shots, and hopefully they go in. But we're just going to roll with the over. You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're going with. Good job, Rob.
I think I'm just a better lawyer than Goodman. I think that's all this is right here. It's not that I'm a good bettor. We're going to go 0 for 8 on whatever my picks were. But,
we'll be done
I'm just better at arguing my point. All right, last one we got. Alabama taking on Creighton. Creighton right now is laying 7.5. The total there, believe it or not, is higher than the total in the Kentucky North Carolina game. And
it should be higher.
It's higher than the total of the Arizona.
There's one player in the court, Rob. There's one player in the court who knows how to play defense. One.
Okay, so are you taking the over? What are we doing here? Arizona against Purdue, or Arizona against
give me a 2.
Creighton? I believe that game it's in Omaha.
What's the over?
165.5.
No, I'm taking Creighton. I'm taking Creighton in this game as a bounce back. They were embarrassed at UNLV. They are not going to lose this game. Alabama, again, they can't stop anybody. I think Trey Alexander is going to have a big game in this one. And I think Creighton wins by double figures.
Okay. The only thing I would say to that is that Creighton right now is quite literally the worst team in college basketball when it comes to forcing turnovers. They force turnovers on 11% of their opponents' possessions, which is 362nd out of 362 teams in college basketball. And that is despite the fact that Creighton has played Florida A&M, North Dakota State, Texas Southern, Loyola Chicago, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, Central Michigan, right? It's not like we're talking about a murderer's row here. They have not played a team that currently ranks inside the top 25 on KenPom, and they've played one team that ranks inside the top 58 on KenPom, and they are 362nd in turnover percentage. Alabama, Goodman, you might be shocked to find this out, is the most efficient offense in the sport. You're giving me all of these possessions for Nate Oates and Mark Sears and Aaron Estrada and Grant Nelson, on all these dudes that know how to get buckets. Yeah, give me Alabama plus 7.5, man. Give me. I understand the bounce back spot narrative. I understand that Creighton is going to be at home. And look, I think Creighton. Everybody on college basketball Twitter made fun of Gary Parrish for saying Creighton could be a national champion on national television, and then Creighton went out and lost to UNLV on the same. Did you see that? He was on the pregame show for Creighton UNLV, and he said Creighton could be a national champion. And CBS Sports clipped that out and posted it to all of their main CBS Sports channels, not just like the Eye on College Basketball feed, but the main CBS Sports channel. And then Creighton went out and lost to UNLV, and GP's just sitting there like, God, I can't believe you guys did that to me. But yeah, I still think Creighton is that good. But yeah, Alabama covers here, plus 7.5. Dagan, back me up.
So Goodman, you see what Rob did there was he tried to throw all those numbers to really get me off the only narrative that matters in this game, and that's the fact that Creighton is playing a game in Omaha after just losing to UNLV, and the only teams that Creighton loses to are in the Mountain West apparently. So I'm going to go with Creighton minus 7.5 here, and I know the chat's going to hate this because I'm watching it right now, and they're all on Alabama. But give me Creighton in Omaha. It's different there. I'm going with the Blue Jays.
All right. Well, listen. Right now, our parlay is, if you want a tail, we have Kansas minus 7.5 at BetMGM. We have Michigan State money line plus 140. We have Texas A&M Houston under 130.5. We have Memphis minus 2.5. Florida Atlantic minus 9.5. The Purdue money line over 164.5 in North Carolina and Kentucky, and Creighton minus 7.5. And that pays off, Goodman, at plus 24,259, which I believe would be 2,425 to 1 odds. 200, no, maybe it's No, maybe it's 242 to 1 odds. I don't know, whatever it is. We are betting $50 on this to win $12,179.59. So I just hit place bet. We're locked in. We're locked in.
How much are you giving Dagan for this when we win?
I mean, to be fair, I made the picks, so I should be getting 100% of it. You guys just tried to convince me. I made the picks.
Dagan, if this hits, then you will be taken care of. You're not getting all of it. You get some of it, though.
Dauster will give you $100. He'll give you $100.
No,
that's what Dauster will give you.
The bet was 50. I'll give him 50. Goodman.
Get your money back.
Listen, this has been the Field of 68 After Dark. This has been your Friday night episode. This has been fun. This has involved quite a few King Sues, which, by the way, if you are a big fan of IPAs, make sure you go find yourself some King Sue. They didn't even pay me for this. I bought this beer myself. So for Jeff Goodman.
And for us tomorrow night. Wait. Tomorrow night, big day of action tomorrow. Make sure it's Rob, Randolph Childress, myself. I'll be at both the Kansas Indiana game, then Purdue Arizona. So make sure. I mean, again, huge day of hoops tomorrow. So we'll be with you at 11 o'clock tomorrow night.
Yep, and I will be sitting on my couch popping champagne at about 10:30 tomorrow night because we just hit a $50 bet to turn $50 into $12,000. Thank you, BetMGM.